guys, and welcome to my channel. Today I bring you What If Godzilla Was in Attack on Titan? Final part. Once again, a year has passed, and a world once filled with titans, ancient beasts, now mark their return to the world. But can mankind live in this new world while another change will take place? Who is friend and who is enemy? And what will this mean for the rogue Titan shifter Eren and the great predator Godzilla? The story is called Godzilla x Titan 3 All Out Strike. The link of both the story and the author will be in the description down below. If you guys want more what if videos such as these, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more.
Chapter 23, Destroy All Monsters. In the underground. Levi had just finished killing off the last Nebulan. He watched it as the headless alien bug fell to the ground. For a while the battle looked as if the Nebulans might win, but then they started holding their heads and screamed, thus giving Levi and the others plenty of time to finish them off. Levi kicked the corpse, making sure the alien did not have some other trick. Superior? Like hell you are, Levi said, moving away from the body. Well, I'm going to be busy when this is all over. Levi looked to see a smiling Hang sitting on a pile of dead Nebulan bodies. Levi noticed that Hang has a quick-made bandage over her left eye and there was still blood marks around her face. Levi looked to the left as well as Hang, which changed her cherry demeanor to sadness. During the fight, Erwin fell to a Nebulan blaster while defending a few of the captured people. The result of the death of their comrade and old friend made Levi and Hang fight more furiously at their enemies. They watched as the remaining knights of the King Draperwin and others in a gray or green cloak and saluted. Miraculously, all of the people captured were all still alive, bothering a few bloody scrapes and wounds from fleeing their captors. The M Squad and the Survey Corps sadly were not so lucky, as like the knights they too lost a few of their members. Well, at least we won, right? Hang said, trying to cheer both Levi and herself. At least things can't get any worse. Suddenly a yellow lightning bolt blasted from the top of the underground and hit the ground, thankfully not killing anyone. Everyone looked up at the hole and all at once more lightning bolts came down. The M Squad, Survey Corps, and Knights of the King at once evacuated the people, with Levi and Hang following behind them. They had to leave the bodies of their comrades behind, but they had to focus on keeping everyone else alive. As soon as they reached the surface, Levi and Hang were the first to come out, and they saw the form of King Ghidorah flying over the other kaijus and roared like devil or a vengeful god. Levi frowned and looked at Hang. Sometimes I wish you would shut up. The sun was beginning to set and the glow of sun's rays reflected off of King Ghidorah's scales. The scene would have been beautiful were it not for this creature of terror that floats above everything. Feeling the freedom that it was long denied, King Ghidorah let loose its gravity beams from each of its heads. The three heads each fired their bolts in different directions on the ground, some destroying the walls that still stand, some destroying remains of the Nebulan ship, while some nearly hit the kaijus below. King Ghidorah roared to the sky, sounding like a mixture of a monster's roar and a crackling bell. Soon all three heads noticed the Gotengo heading straight towards him, with the drill in front moving. Everyone! Captain Gordon spoke, we are going to deal with this three-headed bastard once and for all. Get ready to fire all weapons on my command. The drill started to glow as the Gotengo neared King Ghidorah, but the dragon kaiju did not move. Alright, Gordon was ready to give the command, all weapons dash. Then all at once the three heads each fired a gravity bolt together. The result was all three of the beams merging together into a single gravity beam and fired at the Gotengo. The command station sparked as the ship's systems started shorting out from the collective beam. Hold her steady. Gordon shouted through the sparks, but then noticed from the barely working screen that the attack damaged the ship's systems, including weapons as well as flight systems, meaning the Gotengo was defenseless and that they were going down. The Gotengo started falling towards the ground headfirst, but before it could hit, it was caught by Jet Jaguar. The robot held the ship at its side, and using much of its strength, Jet Jaguar gently laid the ship down where Eren and the others were. Good catch, Connie said. Jet Jaguar responded by giving him a thumbs up, but that was interrupted by another gravity bolt, this time nearly hitting the group. What is that thing? Shouted Sasha, getting a cold chill feeling from the new kaiju. King Ghidorah, Kazama said, gnashing his teeth. King Ghidorah? Jean said. So that is another one of the bug's weapons then? Their most dangerous weapon. Kazama answered, but it looks different last time, but obviously it is still powerful. So how strong is that thing? Ymir asked. Kazama looked back at the kaiju. To put it simple, we're all dead. Everyone was silent at that, and they all looked at the King of Terror, while Eren, still in his Titan form, looked at Mikasa, who was absolutely petrified with a look of great fear at King Ghidorah. Godzilla watched this new kaiju in the air and ignored his two enemies. This creature was something else. Godzilla could almost feel the power King Ghidorah had. Perhaps this one would be an interesting foe for him. Godzilla roared a challenge at King Ghidorah, and it was at that moment King Ghidorah took notice of the other kaijus on the ground. King Ghidorah flew down, and when he landed softly feet first on the ground, it was like an earthquake started moving but quickly ended. King Ghidorah stood off center between Godzilla and the surviving kaiju clan and Monster X and Biollante, but King Ghidorah had all three heads focus on Godzilla and the others more so than the other two, but King Ghidorah is aware of them but chose to have some fun with the bigger group and deal with those two later. After all, one of them has his blood and he wants it back. Monster X looked at the creature, trying to understand what it is. Is it an enemy or an ally? He tried to move towards it but was held back. He looked and saw one of Biollante's tendrils holding his arms back and one around his waist. X looked at his comrade and noticed her head tremble at the sight of the new kaiju. So X then decided to watch this new kaiju's next move. King Ghidorah roared at the gathered kaijus but kept all eyes on Godzilla, who stood in front of the group while the others moved back, including Anguirus and Rodan, but only slightly. Play Reign of Terror, Rhapsody of Fire. Godzilla roared at King Ghidorah and he the same, both kings looking and roaring at each other, each of them sensing the other's strength and waiting for one of them to make the first move. Of course it had to be Godzilla to be first. Godzilla fired an atomic beam straight at King Ghidorah's chest. King Ghidorah roared but not in pain, and when Godzilla stopped, his eyes widened, seeing King Ghidorah's chest was unharmed as if the beam wasn't fired at him. King Ghidorah's middle head gave a knowing smile at Godzilla, and then all three heads fired their gravity beams at him, causing Godzilla to roar in pain. Of this attack was just like Monster X's but was far more painful as he took a couple steps back. All three of King Ghidorah's head crackled in laughter at the pain he caused, so much so that King Ghidorah did it again, but as he unleashed his gravity beam at Godzilla, Anguirus rolled up and charged at the three-headed terror. King Ghidorah spotted the rolling kaiju, and as Anguirus neared him, almost as quick as lightning, King Ghidorah slapped Anguirus with his left wing, sending the armored kaiju on the ground. Rodan roared at King Ghidorah and then at his surviving clan, ordering them to prepare for battle. A few of the kaijus did not move for fear of King Ghidorah before them, but the Gorosaurus roared in anger over King Ghidorah, striking Anguirus and charged right in. This action promoted the two surviving Kamakuri to join him. Soon the rest charged in while Rodan flew overhead. Anguirus stood on all fours after being knocked like a rock. He did not enjoy that. Anguirus turned ready to attack King Ghidorah again but noticed the oncoming kaijus charging at King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah looked at the charging force and at once fired gravity beams from all three of his head. The blast managed to knock Gorosaurus, Varan, and Titanosaurus down, but some managed to dodge. The two Kamakuris flew in the sky and the female Baragon tunneled down with King Cobra following her. Kamiaba's hid in his shell, hopping his shell could protect him, and Kamanga hid behind Kamiaba's like a shield while Rhinosaurus and Syrax continued to move forward. Rhinosaurus charged in with his horn ready to stab King Ghidorah right through the chest. King Ghidorah's three heads roared in laughter as he pulled back his wings and let loose a single gust of wind. The sheer strength of it was enough to send the Rhinosaurus flying right towards Syrax, but the kaiju crustacean jumped up just in time, missing his comrade. Then Krex let loose an ink blast from his mouth and blinded the right head and instantly angered King Ghidorah. Godzilla stood up fully healed from the three-headed dragon's attack and saw King Ghidorah angered and one head blinded. Godzilla, seeing his chance, started heading towards his foe, this time for close combat. While the right head of King Ghidorah fired gravity bolts randomly, the other two in vengeance fired their gravity bolts at Syrax, directly knocking him down in pain while destroying some of his tentacles. Kumanga moved away from Kamiaba's and let out her webs at King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah started to become annoyed and started blasting the webs away, but while the two heads were doing this, Anguirus managed to get close to the right head and charged straight at it, and with his mouth bite down on the neck. King Ghidorah roared, not in pain but in anger that this creature would dare place its jaws on him. Gorosaurus saw this and ran to join Anguirus, but at this moment King Ghidorah took flight with Anguirus still holding his grip on King Ghidorah's neck. "What are you doing?" Sasha shouted, "Let go right now." Eren looked at King Ghidorah, seeing the massive power this kaiju possess. Could they even kill it? Could Godzilla even kill it? King Ghidorah flew up trying to shack Anguirus off him, but Anguirus kept hold. Then the middle head moved and bit down onto Anguirus, drawing blood where Anguirus could not. On the neck he held tight on. The kaijus on the ground roared for Anguirus to hold on. Anguirus kept his grip and tried to ignore the pain, but then the left head fired a gravity bolt in his chest. That mixed with the middle head's bite was too much and Anguirus released. Anguirus! Sasha cried as Anguirus fell down from the sky and crashed on parts of the remaining walls. As the dust settles to the shock of everyone, Anguirus survived. What? Connie shouted in disbelief. How could he survive a fall like that? But his question was left unanswered when Sasha grabbed a hold of him and cheered that Anguirus is still alive. But King Ghidorah was not happy about this. The middle head turned to the right head and with a gravity bolt, destroyed the ink, giving the right head its sight back. Then all three heads looked down at Anguirus as he started to slowly move out of the rubble. All heads were about to unleash a full gravity bolt on him, but before they could even fire, a red beam struck them from behind, and before they could react, something hard hit across their heads. It was Rodden, giving the King of Terror a new target. Rodden slowed his flight so he could turn his head and roared at King Ghidorah. The three-headed tyrant was furious at this action and started giving chase to the leader of the Kaiju clan. Ghidorah fired multiple bolts at Rodden but has successfully dodged each one of them with great ease. Then Rodden did a 180-degree turn and started headed towards Ghidorah. Rodden fired his heat beam at King Ghidorah and managed to hit him, but King Ghidorah kept on flying until the two flyers finally collided with each other. The flying fighters started falling as they continued to fight each other. Rodden started to peck at the left head's neck while all three of King Ghidorah's heads tried to bite down on Rodden's wings. When they finally landed, Rodden fell on his back with King Ghidorah on top of him. King Ghidorah stood up fast and placed both of his feet on Rodden's wings, preventing him from flying. Rodden tried to get up, but King Ghidorah kept him pinned down. Rodden fired his heat beam again, but King Ghidorah still did not move. King Ghidorah moved all three heads back as they were about to release a full-powered gravity bolt on the down flyer. Then BYYYA. The three heads looked up just as Jet Jaguar flew right at King Ghidorah's chest. Jet Jaguar started pushing King Ghidorah off of and away from Rodden. The Golden Terror was surprised by this attack, but that quickly wore off. King Ghidorah planted his feet down firmly, trying to hold his ground against the robot, but Jet Jaguar kept trying to push him back even as King Ghidorah started firing his bolts onto the robot. The bolts started blasting off parts of his back, but Jet Jaguar kept trying to bring King Ghidorah down. Then the right and left head of King Ghidorah grabbed both of Jet Jaguar's arms and lifted the robot to the middle head's face, and with a cruel grin, the two heads started pulling Jet Jaguar's arms, hopping to rip him in half. The Gotengo crew managed to get out of their ship just as this was taking place. "Come on, Double J," shouted Randy, "don't let that three-headed freak split you apart." "You can do it," shouted Miyuki, "you still have to protect Rokuro." Almost as if the robot could hear his comrades, Jet Jaguar tired to pull his arms back to him. He managed to do just that, but King Ghidorah kept pulling Jet's arms away, and just as Jet Jaguar's arms were about to rip off, the ground behind King Ghidorah erupted and the female Baragon leaped out and started let out her flames on King Ghidorah's back. The attack caused all three heads to roar at this and dropped Jet Jaguar. Then King Cobra came out from the ground in front of King Ghidorah and spit out her venomous globs at King Ghidorah's feet, sticking him to the ground. Soon the other monsters joined in the attack. Camoebas bit down on one of King Ghidorah's tails and Titanosaurus bit down on the other. Varan started slashing the right wing and Rhinoceros started attacking the left wing. Two of the Kamakuris leaped at left and right head of King Ghidorah and started slashing at the faces. C-Rex used his heel tendrils and started chalking the middle head. Rodden and Anguirus both watched this action. They have got King Ghidorah right where they wanted him now. Jet Jaguar tried to get up, but his right arm was malfunctioning and his left arm was close to falling off. Then he felt something grabbing behind him, but not to attack him but to help him off. Jet looked and saw Godzilla doing the deed, doing it as a sign of gratitude for his help. Lifting his left arm carefully, Jet shook Godzilla's hand in friendship. Godzilla felt this action was strange but was happy about this. Then he looked back and joined Rodden and Anguirus in watching King Ghidorah being attacked on all sides. "That's it, take it down," cheered Connie as he watched the fight. "Better believe it," Randy added. "Don't celebrate yet," Gordon said. "Some of us still remember that it is going to take a lot more than this to kill King Ghidorah." "True, Captain," Dr. Shiragami said, "but look at it, last time we saw it had enough power to wipe out an entire city, and yet it is having difficulty in fighting a group of kaijus." Perhaps, the Nebulans weakened it as to have better control over it. So you're saying that King Ghidorah is not at full strength? Armin said, that means we might kill it? It's hard to say, Nick said watching the battle, it may not be as strong as it once was before but it is still dangerous. Gordon pulled out a cigar and lit it. Well, let's hope they can kill him. Miyuki watched the battle but then noticed something was off but not in the fight. She turned to Kazama with worry in her eyes. Kazama, where is Ozaki? Kazama looked away from her. Miyuki was about to ask again when she notices Ozaki's body on the ground unmoving. All her time in fighting their enemies she would know the sight of death when she sees it. Miyuki fell to her knees and started crying. Mal and Laura came to her to ease her pain. The Gotengo crew looked at Ozaki's body as well. Gordon just dropped the cigar and stomped on it in frustration. Damn it, Ozaki, Gordon said in a sad rage over the loss of another good comrade. Baragon soon leaped off of King Ghidorah's back and Gorosaurus came up and delivered a kangaroo kick right at King Ghidorah's back, knocking him down, resulting in the two Kamakuris to fly off of him, and then Anguirus charged in and once again bite down on the right neck along with Godzilla, who instead of firing his atomic beam, he started stomping on King Ghidorah's left neck. The group watched, for it seemed that the monster might kill King Ghidorah. But Mikasa suddenly felt a chill around her body and her eyes widened in a knowing fear. Monster X also felt the same chill in his body and he felt like his blood was boiling for some reason. He looked at King Ghidorah and saw a yellow glow slowly appear around the three-headed terror. Soon the glow started to cover King Ghidorah's entire body. Before the monsters could even react, a massive electrical wave was let out from King Ghidorah and knocking down all the monsters. One of the Kamakuras then started to fly right up to King Ghidorah for another surprise attack, but King Ghidorah has had enough surprises, and with his middle and left head, King Ghidorah grabbed the Mantis Kaiju and ripped him in two and tossed the body to the ground. Rhinoceros stood up and charged right at King Ghidorah, but the right head saw him coming and fired a gravity bolt right into his eyes. The beam was powerful enough to not only destroy the eye but the brain, stopping not only the Kaiju's charge but also his life. Monster X stood near, petrified at the might of King Ghidorah. Such power, such might, this creature might be even powerful enough to take him on. Perhaps it would be a good time to retreat. Annie, Monster X turned to Biollante, her gaze not leaving the sight of King Ghidorah. We go. We leave. Go home. Home? Biollante spoke, then images of her training, of her orders, the friends she lost, the friends she betrayed. Then she thought back to her father and saw him. Her house, her home. And then destruction. The entire country of Marley was destroyed and the only thing she see responsible is King Ghidorah. She thought, once the creature kills everything and everyone on this island, what's to stop it from doing it to others? To her home. No. Monster X moved back by her outburst, and leave. I fight. After that, Biollante started charging non-stop towards King Ghidorah. Annie! Stop! But Monster X's cry was left unheard as Kaiju part of her took full control and wanted to destroy the threat. Biollante let out a large bellowed roar at King Ghidorah. The right head turned and soon all the other heads as well. Biollante let loose all her tendrils, with or without mouths, at King Ghidorah, and he responded by all three heads firing gravity bolts at the tendrils, both cutting and destroying them. Biollante paused in her assault, but she was nearly close enough to use her other attack. She leaned her massive head back to unleash her acid sap attack, and as she was about to let it out, King Ghidorah's middle head fired a gravity beam into her mouth and igniting the acid, causing her whole head to lit up in flames and the back of her head exploding. The other two heads fired directly at the brain-like object on her chest, destroying it and setting the rest of her body aflame. My God, Annie, Armin said, watching in horror over the burning body of the once human Annie. All they could hear from her was bellows of pain, as not only the flames but from the continued onslaught of gravity beams from King Ghidorah. Until finally the three-headed terror stopped. The flames blazed so much that all could be seen from Biollante was her face as it burned. She turned to where the group was, but she mainly looked at Aaron's Titan form. Aaron. Within his Titan form, Aaron felt tears building up. I am sorry. And the giant form of Biollante of Annie fell dead to the ground. Another roar echoed on the battlefield. The roar of Monster X. Another friend dead. No matter how powerful this creature is, he was stronger and he will get vengeance. Monster X charged right at King Ghidorah, then he leaped right at him to deliver a hard punch. Then before the blow was struck, King Ghidorah flew up dodging the attack and started flying in circles around Monster X. "Fight me!" Monster X fired his beams at King Ghidorah, but the creature dodged each one of them with grace. It was almost like it was dancing. X became frustrated over missing his target and tried to use his levitation to reach King Ghidorah, and just as he got up to the sky he was double-kicked by King Ghidorah and pushed back down to the ground. Monster X quickly stood up just as King Ghidorah landed back down, and as such, Monster X fired his beams in a continued onslaught. Monster X stopped his attack and King Ghidorah was still standing. He could not believe this. He let loose all the power that he had, and this creature is not even then. King Ghidorah's left head grabbed Monster X's left arm. The right head bit down on his side and the middle grabbed his neck. Monster X tried to fight himself free. He tired clawing their necks, kicking the body, and even fired his beams, but King Ghidorah still held on. Then cold dark voices entered his mind. "Now we shall take back what does not belong to you." Then at once King Ghidorah started sucking all the energy from Monster X as well as his life. Monster X continued to try and break free, but he soon felt himself going weaker by the struggle as King Ghidorah grew stronger. "No. Can't. Die. Mission. Mother." Soon all of Monster X's limbs grew limp. Bert Holt. And X's eyes grew dark. King Ghidorah let go of the lifeless body, and when it hit the ground the body turned to dust on contact except for the skeletal parts. Our Reiner, Connie trembled at this sight while Sasha was close to tears. Emer held Historia tight at the sight of this horrible act. Mikasa started shacking more and more at King Ghidorah. "Well, that's just I don't know what to say right now," Hang said, her expression both excited and terrified at the same time. Even Levi's hands started to tremble. "Eh, Captain Levi?" Levi did not look at the Solitaire to know he was scared to death. "What are we going to do?" Levi looked at King Ghidorah. They faced titans, kaijus, hell, even shifters who turned into one or the other or both, but this? No, they don't stand a chance of fighting this thing. Even if every human he could turn into a titan. This would only be like a pebble trying to take down a mountain. And he hated every minute of feeling like this. Then all three of King Ghidorah's heads turned to where Eren and the others are. "Is it my imagination, or is King Three Head looking at us?" Randy said, terrified. All three heads smiled at them. "Mikasa." Mikasa froze at the voices in her head once again. "Goodbye." All three heads fired their gravity bolts at the group. Eren was about to charge right in to shield them, but then a figure jumped right in as the bolts hit. King Ghidorah smiled at his attack. He had regained his full power and would destroy all who. Then as the dust settled, King Ghidorah saw the form of Jet Jaguar shielding the others. "Jet Jaguar!" Kazama shouted. The attack completely damaged Jet Jaguar. Parts of his face were burned, his left arm has completely fell off, and parts of his back looked to be broken off, and a few circuits were shown. But despite this great damage, Jet Jaguar still stood. BYZZZTYYAIA. King Ghidorah was about to attack again, but then he was rammed from the side by Godzilla, while the rest of the kaijus were still wounded from King Ghidorah's shock blast. Godzilla was the first to heal from that and started to attack his opponent non-stop. Godzilla used his claws and slashed King Ghidorah's chest, finally drawing first blood. King Ghidorah was surprised by this. Only one managed to harm him in such a way. Well, he was not about to make it another. King Ghidorah fired his gravity beams at Godzilla, causing him to be pushed back, but the Monster King charged in for another attack. Angwers and Rodden stood up from the ground, but they were too weak to fight and had no choice but to let Godzilla deal with this threat. Godzilla charged at King Ghidorah, and not only let out another gravity bolt from all three heads but also at the tips of his wings. The attack hit Godzilla squarely on the chest, causing a small explosion of blood from Godzilla's chest. Godzilla roared in pain at the attack as he held his chest, and then Godzilla was brought down by another attack from the gravity bolts, bringing him down. Eren narrowed his eyes in hate at King Ghidorah. This monster damaged Mikasa, killed as if this was a game. This monster cannot live. Eren may not be as powerful as Godzilla, but he is still going to fight even if he dies in the process. The attack titan roared and started running towards the battle. Eren, no, don't. Armin shouted. What the hell do you think you're doing? Jean shouted. While the others tried to call back their friend, Mikasa raised her hand. That is sadly all she could do, for she was still frozen in fear. She could not even say Aaron's name right now. King Ghidorah enjoyed the look of pain and loved the sounds of torment that Godzilla was giving. Perhaps before he kills Godzilla he could torture him more. Then the middle head noticed something from the corner of his eye, and what King Ghidorah saw out made all three heads laugh. The attack titan, Eren Yeager, running to attack him. Eren is the complete definition of humanity's brave stupidity. Oh well, King Ghidorah thought to himself, might as well humor the fool before he kills him. Eren leaped at King Ghidorah and started slashing, clawing, and biting the three-headed terror, but the wicked dragon just laughed at this. But Eren continued to attack. He was not about to let these kaijus fight alone. This world not only belongs to the kaijus but also to humanity, and Eren was going to make this monster see that. I will not let you win, Eren said with focus on his goal. Do you hear me? The attack titan jumped up above King Ghidorah, ready to strike down. You want win? At once the attack titan's body started steaming out flames. This action had not happened since his last fight with the female titan, but something else was happening. The claws on his hands sharpened, and when he slashed down on King Ghidorah, slash wounds appeared on all three heads and necks, and the back horns were broken off. King Ghidorah roared in shock and in pain. Godzilla then stood up and saw the attack titan, and to his shock, the titan was growing, but only up to Godzilla's chest. Not only that, but the attack titan's skin started changing color to closely match Godzilla's skin color. And the titan shifter's back started showing individual small armored dorsal plates. Think Showa Manila's dorsal plates. The flames started surrounding his arms as the attack titan raised his head at King Ghidorah. He opened his mouth and let out a loud roar. Think a roar mix between GXM Godzilla's roar and either the Jap or Aang attack titan roar, telling King Ghidorah that this fight is far from over. Godzilla walked to the attack titan and stood by his side, and both of them let out a roar towards King Ghidorah and charged at him. OWW, that is amazing, shouted Hang with fascination and a bit of a nosebleed. I did not know Eren could do that. That guy is still full of surprises. Levi watched as Godzilla attacked from the front and the attack titan attacked from behind. Good luck, Yeager. Godzilla started slashing King Ghidorah's chest while the attack titan was clawing at the wings. The left and right head immediately bit down on Godzilla's arms, getting ready to drain his life energy, but before the middle head could strike, the attack titan bit down on the middle head's neck first. The right and left head let go at once, but Godzilla quickly grabbed a hold of them while the attack titan started to pull on the middle neck. The middle head of King Ghidorah roared wildly as it fired gravity bolts, hopping to hit his attacker, but failed as Eren pulled more on the neck. Blood started leaking from that head's mouth. The wings tips started firing their bolts, randomly destroying rubble, and yet the titan shifter continued to pull. Then with one last great pull, the attack titan ripped the middle head right off the body. As the remaining heads roared out in pain for the loss of the middle head, Godzilla let go of the heads and fired an atomic beam straight at the chest, knocking the body down. They did it! Sonda cheered, hugging Maul, Historia, and Ymir kissed in joy, while the rest cheered as well for the latest victory. Godzilla looked at the titan shifter just as the attack titan started feasting on the middle head like a predator would eat a fresh kill. Godzilla looked at the titan shifter and felt somewhat of a kinship with this creature. Before Godzilla could take another step, he paused, and he and the attack titan looked back at their fallen foe. It's not over yet, Mikasa said with worry and fear remaining on her face. The group looked at her and nervously looked back at the battlefield. At that moment the body of King Ghidorah stood up, the two reaming heads roaring in pure rage as lighting started sparking from his body and more lighting started surrounding him and giving him a bright yellow glow. Oh my god, Dr. Shiragami stepped back in horror. It's doing it again. What? Jean asked, what the hell is it doing? King Ghidorah is using his most powerful attack, Gordon said, his hand in a fist. That monster will soon create a powerful energy shield with all its energy and then will expel it in a new attack. What kind of an attack? Armin asked. A powerful explosion, Miyuki said. That attack was enough to turn an entire city into a desert. Even in its weakened state, the explosion will still be powerful enough to wipe out everything and everyone here. Everyone stood still in silent horror on this news. King Ghidorah roared in fury as he took to the sky. Godzilla and the attack titan tried to attack before he could escape, but the lightning bolts stopped them from getting nearer. King Ghidorah flew up high in the sky and stopped in midair to look down upon his foes. These creatures want to die fast, then that is what they shall get. King Ghidorah started gathering all his energy as lightning bolts rained down from his wings, nearly striking some of the downed kaijus. Godzilla and the attack titan. It won't be long now, Miyuki said sadly as she held onto Ozaki's head gently. But there's got to be something we can do. Armin said, can't the Gotengo shoot him down? We can't, Dr. Shiragami answered. King Ghidorah's attack on the Gotengo damaged it. We'll be lucky if it can even fly again. Ma, maybe we CC can try and move him SS somewhere else? Sanda said. Everyone looked at him and Sanda looked down embarrassed. SS sorry, BB bad idea alright? Actually, Nick said out loud, it might now be such a bad idea. Nick looked up to Jet Jaguar and shouted to the robot. Jet Jaguar. Listen, you have to look through Gigan's remains. Nick shouted. Find his teleport organ. BY_ZAYYYYYAH. Jet Jaguar carefully stood up and moved as fast as he could to where Gigan's remains are located. Wait, what did you tell him to look for? Maul asked. Nick explained, reading as much information as we obtained of the Nebulans and their weapons, I discovered that the cause of Gigan's teleportation ability was a synthetic organ that the Nebulans created. Okay, but why would we need that? Jean asked. All synthetic organs created by the Nebulans are made to continue to function with or without a body. If we could equip it to one of the working missiles from the Gotengo, we could activate the organ and fire the missile at King Ghidorah, and just as he is about to unleash his attack dash, we teleport him before he destroy everything here. Dr. Shiragami answered Nick's explanation. Yes, that could work, but when Jet Jaguar finds it, we have to program the organ to send Ghidorah far away, and we also have to set a timer on it as well. Can you guys do all that? Historia asked. Lady, you have no idea what these eggheads can do, Randy said. But what if that organ is destroyed, said Laura. Everyone looked up as King Ghidorah started shining like a star or a sun. We just got to hope it's not, Nick answered. King Ghidorah growled and with both heads fired a powerful charged gravity bolt down upon both Godzilla and the attack titan. The attack destroyed the Titan's right arm and hit Godzilla on the dorsal plates, but when it did hit Godzilla, it did not hurt him. In fact, Godzilla could have somehow absorbed it. Godzilla shook it off and fired an atomic beam up at King Ghidorah, but the blast could not pierce King Ghidorah due to an energy barrier being formed right at that very moment. Unknowingly to Mad Dragon, the wings were still damaged due to the Titan's attack and were starting to tear. If this keeps up, King Ghidorah would not be able to stay in the air for much longer. Jet Jaguar looked the area, trying to find the organ, but nothing remains except for the saw arms and Gigan's head. Jet Jaguar turned Gigan's severed head on its side and put his remaining hand up to the hole in the neck and gently pulled out multitudes of organs. Jet scanned them all for the teleport organ. Jet Jaguar quickly returned to the others. Jet Jaguar, did you find it? Nick asked. The robot bent down and opened his hand. He had found the organ. The organ looked like a mix between a brain and a heart, but showed a screen filled with strange alien words. Good, Gordon turned to the others. Miyuki, Shiragami, Tadopoulos, Hernandez, get to the Gotengo and start working on that organ right this second. We don't know how long we got, so get to work. As the scientist headed to the ship, Gordon looked at Kazama. You with me? As soon as they load up the organ onto a missile, on my signal you fire, got it? Kazama saluted and headed towards the ship. Captain? Armin asked, what should we do? Gordon looked at everyone. Just pray that this plan works, because right now that is all we got left. Godzilla and Eren could almost feel the evil and horror that King Ghidorah was creating, and if they leave him to it, King Ghidorah will kill them all. Godzilla was not about to let that happen. Godzilla stomped both his feet to the ground and slammed his tail down to hold him to the ground and started charging up. Eren watched as Godzilla's dorsal plates glowed red and then suddenly started turning white. Eren knew Godzilla was trying to make that special beam attack that he used to kill Crystalek. Godzilla looked back up at King Ghidorah. He focused right at him and then he fired his white spiral beam right at King Ghidorah. The power of the beam was enough to push King Ghidorah back slightly, but the energy barrier still remained slightly. King Ghidorah's wings on the other hand soon started to tear, and then the Dragon of Terror started falling right towards Godzilla, the beam still continuing. King Ghidorah decided instead, if Godzilla was going to try and kill him, then fine, but before he dies he will have Godzilla and every living thing on this island die with him. Oh god, he's coming down, Sasha said, worrying. I hope they got it in time. Gordon sat down on his captain chair and Kazama sat down in Ozaki's old station. You guys got it ready, 'cause it's now or never, Gordon said through combs. This is Randy. Captain. Randy answered, we got it ready in Missile 4, you may fire when ready. Gordon nodded, okay Kazama, get ready to fire on my orders. Kazama watched and waited. Eren stood watching this amazing moment, but something tells him to leave right now, but then he noticed his Titan body slowly coming apart. Did he overuse it? Was it the new strength he gained? Godzilla noticed this and with a mighty whip of his tail he knocked Eren away from him as King Ghidorah got nearly close. Kazama. Fire. This one is for you Ozaki. Kazama pushed the button and a missile launched with the teleport organ attached as well as a timer counting down a short time. Godzilla kept firing as King Ghidorah neared him. All the energy within the dragon ready to blow, ready to kill everything. Eren got out of the nape of the neck just as the missile flew over his head. Godzilla and King Ghidorah neared each other as their powers were nearly connected, and before either one could touch each other the missile struck both of them and a blinding light filled the whole area. Everyone covered their eyes to shield themselves from the light and very soon the light faded. Eren looked, and where Godzilla once stood, nothing. All that proves he was there was his 2 footprints. Mikasa suddenly fell to the ground. Jean and Sasha quickly went to help her back up, and when they asked if she was okay all she said with a happy tone. He's dead. Thank God, Ghidorah is dead. Epilogue. 3 months later. At a small house near the trees, a little girl no order the 5 was picking out flowers to show her parents. As the child started picking she failed to notice a pure 3-meter titan crawling towards her. As the titan drew closer, the little girl soon noticed something behind her. She turned around and then crunch! The parents came rushing out of the house as soon as they heard their daughter scream. They looked out and saw what has happened. On the ground was their little girl, alive but scared, and in front of her a titan in the jaws of a juvenile Zilla. The 35 feet juvenile bit down hard on the titan and ripped its head off and tossed it into the forest. The parents quickly grabbed their daughter as the kaiju sat down and started eating the titan. Is everyone alright here? The family looked as 2 horses came with Armin and Nick riding them. Was anyone hurt? Armin asked the family. No, we are all safe, the father said, hugging her daughter. Yes, thanks to that kaiju, the mother praised the juvenile Zilla. Armin smiled. Yeah, he is happy to help. In fact, he was the first one to smell that a titan was here. Armin laughed. The only trouble with that is trying to keep up with this one. Nick got off the horse and walked up to the Zilla. Zilla! Good job! Nick shouted, now return to your guarding. The Zilla finished devouring the titan and leaned his head at Nick and gave him a lick, thus knocking him down, and Zilla started walking away. Nick groaned, wiping the saliva off his cheek while Armin chuckled a little. I suppose you think that's funny? Nick said. Well, it could have been worse, Armin said, hiding a smile. Nick got up and laughed a little. Yeah, you could have been the one he imprinted on instead of me, and you would be the one getting giant monster kisses. After saying goodbye to the family and checking the area for any more signs of Titan, Armin and Nick rode back on their patrol in area formerly where Wall Rose stood. After the battle with King Ghidorah, many of the people felt great fear for the loss of their 3 walls and all thought they would fall prey to the Titans and the kaijus. But then something amazing happened. Rodden and the surviving members of his clan surround Eren, the Survey Corps, and the Gotengo crew. For a moment it seemed like they were going to attack, but Maul and Laura told everyone that Rodden was impressed with how Eren stood and fought alongside Godzilla against King Ghidorah and how they used a weapon to finish him off. Rodden said that he and his clan, in honor of their actions, that he and his clan would protect all the humans here. This was a surprise to everyone gathered, but Rodden mentioned that he and his clan would only do this so long as they follow these rules. First, the humans are not to attack any of the kaijus of this clan. Humans must not interfere with their hunts. And third, humans must not treat the kaijus as pets. If the humans follow these rules, then no kaiju will attack the humans. Histwara told Maul and Laura to tell Rodden that they will agree to this. Of course, these rules don't apply to the other kaijus on this island. Look out for that jaw. The warning came just in time as 2 kaiju corps members used their 3D gears to dodge the large beak of the subterranean kaiju Bertanus. Just as the large kaiju was about to attack Tanakibo again, Anguirus charged right at her side, pushing her away from the town. Bartanis growled in rage and stood up on her back legs ready to strike, but then she was knocked down from behind by Gorosaurus. Just as Bartanis got up, the brown gargantuan Sonda gave her neck a bare huge. The kaiju tried to fight them off, but then the soothing sounds from Maul and Laura suing their telepathy power managed to calm her down. Seeing this, Sonda jumped off of her and ran next to Anguirus and Gorosaurus and watched with them as Bartanis walked back into the woods. The two kaijus roared in victory and headed to the lake for feeding as Sonda started to remove himself from his titan from. "Alright, great work everyone," Sasha said to the other squad members. "Now remember everyone, we still have to teach you guys the difference between the kaijus that are on our side and those who want to eat us. But other than that, you all did very well," Mickey said, coming to the squad. Now return back to the town for some celebration. The rest of the squad went back to the town, leaving only Sasha, Connie, Mickey, Sonda, Maul and Laura. Sasha smiled as she watched Anguirus eating with Gorosaurus. "You know, it is nice that he has a friend his size." "Yeah," Connie agreed. "I still remember that one time when he was playing with Jean and tossing him in the air like a ball." The others laughed at that funny memory, then Sasha looked at Mickey with a concerned expression. "So how is she?" Everyone turned to Mickey as the leader of the Tanakibo side. "Sorry, Mikasa, still not ready to return to the core. Her mind sharing with King Ghidorah put a massive strain on her mind, and who knows what that creature left behind in her thoughts." "Well, can't you just go into her mind and get rid of those memories?" Connie suggested. Then Laura flicked Connie on the side of this face. "We've told people many, many times before, our powers don't work like that. We can't get rid of bad memories even if we wanted to." Mickey nodded. "Yes, for right now Mikasa has to work this out herself, but we will be there to help through this." Epically, Jean Sasha said, "He just won't give up with her." Laura sighed. "She's lucky to have a guy swoon over her." "I wish I had one." Maul rolled her eyes. "Oh Laura, there are many people, men and women, who are not in a relationship and they are coping just fine." "Well, you're one to talk," Laura argued. "You have Sonda and he is a wonderful boyfriend." Sonda's face instantly turned red with embarrassment and blush. Wait a second. I would not say was www. Then Maul kissed him on the cheek. "Yes, you are wonderful." Sonda then covered his face to hide his blush. "See, just what I'm talking about," Laura shouted, then she pointed at Mickey. "And basically have Armin full attention, Ms. Sagusa." Mickey blushed a bit. "Okay Laura, I understand what you were saying." Mickey then placed her hand on Laura's shoulder. "Just don't worry. You will find someone special for you and only you." Laura grumbled but nodded, then her smile returned. "By the way, what are we going to give Histwara and Emer for their wedding?" Connie shushed her. "Hey, keep it down," he whispered. "This was supposed to be a secret, remember?" Laura then remembered that if anyone found out that the queen was marrying a woman, it would prove problems, not because of the same sex but due to the fact that this will have problems gaining an heir to the throne. So until they can figure out this problem, it was decided to keep the wedding a secret to only a select few. "Oops, sorry about that, I forgot," Laura said. "Still, we should get them something at least." As they were talking, Sasha walked to Mickey. "By the way, do you know where Eren is?" Mickey nodded. "He's back at Mitras to speak with Gordon about the new plans for the Kaiju Corps and other recent updates." Sonda listened to the conversation and rubbed his neck in worry. Maul saw this and patted his back. "What's wrong?" "JJ just maybe THTH that showing hi him and why you guys those pop-up pages was NN and not a GG good idea," Sonda said. The others nodded, understanding what Sonda was talking about. "Well, it was shocking at first, but hey, it should not change things now, right?" Connie said. "Yeah," Sasha agreed, and before she could say any more, the large sounds of her stomach interrupted her. "Oh, I almost forgot, time for me to eat as well." "Race you for the good stuff." Sasha then ran away from the group and headed back to Tanakibo. "Oh no you don't, greedy," Connie shouted. "You're not eating all of the food." The others laughed and ran to join them. Eren sat down by the fountain and watched as 5 Kamakuras, each carrying rocks, and gently placed them down by some of the nervous humans. People were still getting used to the idea of kaijus helping. Well, at least some of the kaijus are helping. Of course, Eren wished few people would give up trying to rebuild the walls. It was just something that people need to learn to let go. Ignoring the construction, Aaron thought about everything that happened after the battle. Sanda wanted to prove he could be trusted and wanted to tell them everything. Of course, after finding his father's journal and confirmation with Ymir, they knew everything about Marley. But what Sanda told them was altogether different. After losing their Titan shifter, the Marley government started trying to make new Titan shifters based on the piece of flesh from Bertholdt the Crystal Titan. Sanda, Gara and Gabara were the lucky ones, and now with the death of Annie and Reiner, who knows what Marley might do. But then again, Marley might have some other problems to worry about. Hey Jaeger. Aaron's thoughts were interrupted by Captain Gordon. After the battle, the Gotengo crew decided to remain here to help out with the technology the Nebulans left behind and give fresh insights on what they have learned from their world. For here in Kazama, and the rest of the M squad joined up with the Survey Corps for extra muscles, and Miyuki with Shiragami and Nick helping hang with the study of kaijus. Gordon walked to him and sat down next to him by the fountain. You know, kid, this is the strangest sight I have ever seen, Gordon said. Aaron looked to what he was seeing: 3 kids watching a Titanosaurus walking near the constructed walls, Rodden flying overhead and landing near the place. In my world, whenever a kaiju appears in a city or town, there is loads of destruction, death, and all that crap. Here they are actually helping people. God, if I did not know this was real, I would swear I was drunk. Aaron chuckled a bit at and looked down at the folder he was holding. Gordon noticed this. So those the papers then? Aaron looked at him and nodded. Sometimes it is still quite a shock. Aaron opened up the folder, showing 3 pages. Sanda told Aaron and everyone who was there that these pages belonged to the original text of the history of the world and the true reason the Titans were created. Apparently the current history was that Ymir Fritz made a deal with the source of all living matter, that shows as a picture with her making the deal with a demon-looking creature, but in the original text of the first page it showed her making a deal with a clocked figure with a long thin arm, but that was small knowledge compared to what they were told next. Aaron held up the 2 remaining pages and made sure only he and Gordon could see it. For even though it might be unwise to tell everyone about this. For the 2 pages revealed that there was a reason for why Ymir made the deal in the first place. She made the deal because the world of man was attacked by kaijus. The second page showed a giant condor carrying horse, a baragon setting fire to houses, a king cobra devouring humans, and finally an anguir stomping on humans. The third page shows Ymir Fritz Titan form fighting against the Anguirus, and a legion of Titans are fighting against multiple kaijus. So the reasons the Titans were made was because of the kaijus, huh? Gordon said quietly. Yeah, it looks like it, Aaron said. Sanda said the Marley government was aware of the kaiju's existence and were preparing for them to appear, but that was back then when they thought they would not awaken for another 50 years. Guess Bertholdt's return changed all that. So you don't hate the kaijus then? Gordon asked. Aaron sighed and scratched the recent hard spot on his arm. No, in fact I'm tired of blaming. Blaming people, Titans, kaijus. Blame is not going to fix everything, is it? Nope, Gordon said. If there is a problem, big or small, you just got to try and fix it. Aaron put the pages back in the folder and walked around the fountain and at the statue. The statue was that of Godzilla. Its height was 15 meters, it was made from some of the rubble from the walls and even some metal from the Nebulan ship. The statue was made to honor not only Godzilla but for those who have died during the battle. A replica was made in Tanakibo to replace the crystal mural. The statue showed Godzilla roaring to the heavens, and on the front of the statue just below its feet there are these words engraved. In honor of the fallen and of the great predator. Godzilla. Thank you. You know, without that big lizard around things might not be as easy for you guys, Gordon said, looking at the statue. Then Aaron saw Jet Jaguar flying overhead, fully repaired, and in his hand Rokuro laughing along with Hang, except for Moblet who was holding on to Hang for dear life. Aaron saw them flying over the walls and out to the distance. Play Aaron the coordinate. Think the part played at the final scene in the last episode of the second season, perhaps. Aaron started, but mankind has had hardships even before the Nebuans came and the kaijus woke up. We continue on, we will fight for our survival until we live in a world where we no longer have to fear of being hunted. Aaron clenched his fist as the hard spot showed a small hint of green scales and the sides of his front teeth almost fawn-like. If anyone wants to attack us, be they Titans, kaijus, aliens, or even humans. We will fight, and we will never give up. Gordon nodded and looked at the horizon while Aaron looked back at the statue. Aaron placed his hand over Godzilla's name. Thank you for giving humanity a chance, Aaron thought to himself. Now it is my turn again. The people of Parody Island have now entered a new age. An age where the future is even more uncertain, but they will strive, and when their enemies form across the seas come, they will find that the people on that island will not fight alone. Across the seas far away from the island of Marley and Parody, there is a land of ice and snow where no man has crossed to. Within the storming blizzard shows two figures lying on the snow. The first was the corpse of King Ghidorah lying on its chest, the wings completely destroyed, the body lost its golden color and replaced it with the color of ash, the heads devoid of life and their eyes melted and their jaws ripped off. The second body lying on its side was that of Godzilla, thought the body remains intact, it has suffered such damage. A few of the upper dorsal plates were broken off, the tail looked to be cut off, a large gaping hole was shown on his chest and the skin on the face and the rest of the body looked to be as if it was burned off. Godzilla, this mighty, fierce, and yet innocent and tragic monster, has fought to defend and protect for once in his life and has succeeded, and now for the first time. He may rest in peace. Bump, bump. Bump, bump. Bump, bump. Bump, bump. Or perhaps not. Play the Godzilla theme from Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. The hole on Godzilla's chest started to heal and form a scar, the dorsal plates started growing back to their sharpened state, the skin started to grow back, but instead of green it was black as night. The tail had grown back and lifted itself up, the fingers started to move and air was puffed up from the nostrils. As the new skin grew on the head and the body reforming, Godzilla started to open his eyes. And his eyes were pure white. Jai-Uon. At the moment the Nebulan ship exploded and the debris fell, a round escape vessel flew over and out of the area and to the woods. Within the escape pod are Fumio and Kubota, the sole surviving Nebulans and as far as they can see, the last of their kind in this universe. Those miserable apes. Kubota cursed, I will make them all pay for this humiliation. Relax, Kubota, Fumio said, you recall the last warning from the ship? King Ghidorah will be free and he will end them for us. Kubota drummed his claws on the pod's panels, but Ghidorah is not a full strength as you recall, what if they manage to kill it? Fumio pulled from behind his seat a metal box with alien language on it. If they somehow manage to, well, I did bring some precautions just in case. The two Nebulans chuckled at this, but this was soon interrupted when the pod started to shack violently. What is going on? Kubota shouted. Are we under attack? Fumio touched the panels and searched for the answer, unsure, but it seems like something is trying to catch Dash. Then the pod came to a sudden stop that nearly jolted the two out of their seats. Then multiple sharp objects pierced the top of the pod. The pod shook once more and then stopped. What was that? Kubota asked. His answers came when the top of the pod was ripped off and the two Nebulans flinched at what they saw. For standing over them was Gabara and Gara in their Titan forms, growling and roaring at them. Fumio and Kubota stared at them while trying not to show fear and only show their superiority. Then amidst the growling, the two aliens heard footsteps. They looked straight on the ground and saw the human form of two shifters superior. Zeke Yeager. The man walked towards the Nebulans, his expression was not of fear or disgust like most of the humans who have seen their true forms. He showed a look of fascination. Zeke stopped midway and continued to look at Fumio and Kubota. He raised his hand, signaling the two Titan shifters to stand back more, which they obey with contempt. Zeke adjusted his glasses. I know you can understand me. I have been observing your kind's actions on this island and I have seen what your kind is capable of. Fumio and Kubota glanced at each other and back at the man who talks like someone worth of their time. Anyway, it would seem that you two are the lucky ones to escape, but now you seem trapped, Zeke said. That is if it is what you chose, of course. Zeke took another step forward, nearing the broken pod. I'm willing to make you an offer, and your fates reside in the answer of my offer. Kubota clicked his mandibles in anger for this human's boldness, but Fumio gently pushed him aside and stepped towards Zeke until his face was near the human's. We are listening, Zeke Yeager, Fumio answered. What do you have in mind?